Recently, I had discussed the supposedly leaked prices for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 discless version, Xbox Series X, and the Xbox Series S, and if those prices I discussed are true, I think that they're pretty damn good. Microsoft would be undercutting Sony's Tier 2 console, and a $499 price tag for the Series X and the PlayStation 5 is pretty good. Obviously, I think we can all agree here, we all want cheaper consoles, but we can't get too greedy because I'm not someone who wants to pay a cheap price for a console and then have the accessories be extremely overpriced. I feel like that is what would happen if we got a cheaper console, but now we're hearing about some Nintendo leaks and how apparently the plans for a 2021 Switch Pro may have just leaked online, and it is way sooner than expected. So this is a BGR.com article. Nintendo Switch Pro might launch in the first quarter of 2021. Nintendo is reportedly planning to start production on a new Switch model before the end of the year, with a release date set for the first quarter of 2021. Nearly 4 years into the life cycle of the Switch, Nintendo has yet to even hint that an upgraded model of its console is in the works. The only other model Nintendo has released since 2017 is the Switch Lite, but it is $100 cheaper than the standard model and lacks the ability to connect to a television. We're still waiting for a faster, beefier Switch, and according to a report from Taiwan's Economic Daily News, we won't have to wait much longer. Now, there have been rumors since the release of the Switch, and especially around the time of the Switch Lite's release, that there was going to be a Switch Pro, there was going to be some sort of upgraded Switch model. Obviously, these are still rumors, please take them with a grain of salt, but I think we can all agree that Nintendo probably will be releasing some sort of Pro or upgraded model in the future just because it puts another product onto the market. The report claims that the new Switch model is expected to enter production before the end of 2020, and that Nintendo plans to launch the console in the first quarter of 2021. Details about the console are sparse, but the report states that the Switch Pro, as we're calling it, will have a better display and will be more interactive. But it's not totally clear what that's supposed to mean and could simply be a mistranslation. While Nintendo has been tight-lipped about a potential Switch Pro, rumors of a high-end Switch have been floating around online for ages. In March 2019, the Wall Street Journal published an article that claimed 2 new versions of the Switch were being developed. One was the Switch Lite, which ended up launching in September, but the other version, with enhanced features targeted at avid video gamers, never materialized. Now, I think that we all knew that eventually there would be a Switch Pro or an upgraded Switch model. We're talking about the company that had 9 different versions of the Nintendo DS. I mean, they are seriously not afraid to upgrade the systems that work for them and improve on their models, but we know that it's not going to be some massive upgrade to what already exists. I don't think that we can expect it to do native 4K like an Xbox One X, but it needs to be able to upscale like a PlayStation 4 Pro. There are some older games like, I don't know, The Last of Us 1, that because it's an older game, they were able to push it to native 4K, but most newer games can't, and they've had to use various tricks to upscale them, like checkerboarding, opposed to the Xbox One X, which runs basically everything in native 4K. We've already seen, at least on the current Switch, a mixed bag when it comes to ports, with Outer Worlds being awful, Wolfenstein being, I guess I'd say okay, and Doom 2016 being pretty good. To give you some of my experiences, I have the Switch version of Trials of Mana actually, and it drops frames a lot compared to the PlayStation 4 version. But like I said, we can't expect a Switch Pro to run anything in native 4K, but what it should be able to do through different methods is be able to upscale to 4K to keep up with the next generation systems. That is my number one wish for a Nintendo Switch Pro, we'll call it, and I could imagine them doing things like fixing the Joy-Cons and maybe making it so the battery life is a bit longer. Continuing on with the article though, regarding the Nintendo Switch, we believe that it is important to continue to communicate the appeal of both Nintendo Switch systems and expand the installed base, the Nintendo president said in January. Please note that we have no plans to launch a Nintendo Switch model during 2020. So this was almost a year ago at at this point that this was said. With just over 4 months left in 2020 and new consoles from Sony and Microsoft set to dominate sales this holiday season, the chances of Nintendo releasing a new Switch this year are slim to none. But Nintendo's Switch is already underpowered compared to the PS4 and Xbox One, and that disparity will be even more obvious when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X launch this fall. I really do like the idea of a Switch Pro. I'm a huge fan of the system, and it definitely provides an experience that the Xbox and PlayStation consoles don't, in my opinion at least. I'm a huge fan of my Nintendo Switch. Obviously, the exclusive Nintendo games are amazing to have, but we have to realize that it is running technology that's years old, so ultimately we can really only hope for so much. But I'm looking forward to hearing more about what Nintendo is doing with this, if it's real. But I think that it is safe to say at this point that sometime in the future we will get a new Switch model. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like and share it. Subscribe to the channel as well, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.